Now, one of my biggest hot takes is that Chinese isn't really a language. When we think of the Chinese language, we are thinking of Standard Mandarin, the official language of China, based on the Beijing dialect of Mandarin. The truth is, however, that Mandarin is only one of the many Sinitic languages spoken throughout China. Other Sinitic languages include Yue, Wu, Hakka, Xiang, Gan, Min, etc. These languages aren't small by any means. Yue and Wu have a combined total of around 170 million speakers, and both languages are spoken in major Chinese cities such as Shanghai and Guangzhou. However, to encourage linguistic uniformity across China, the Chinese government considers all of these languages to be mere dialects of Mandarin, which simply isn't true. I've been calling them languages for a reason. Not only did Mandarin and these languages develop from Proto-Sinitic separately, but they are all largely unintelligible to Mandarin and to each other. To say what is your name in Mandarin, you would say 你叫什么名字? In Yue, you would say 你叫嘛jian名? And in Wu, you would say 春门农心sa. See, they sound nothing alike. It's because they aren't Chinese dialects that many people currently think of them as. Yue, Wu, Hakka, Xiang, Gan, Min, etc. are all Sinitic languages separate from Mandarin that form the identity of millions of people across China. Similar to the situation in China, we have the dialects of Italian. Besides South Tyrol, the Aosta Valley, Sardinia, and Friuli Venezia Giulia, many people think of Italy as a pretty linguistically homogeneous country. However, this is actually very far from the truth. Italy was only unified relatively recently, so many different regional languages had already developed before unification. In northern Italy, you have the Gallo-Italic languages, which include Venetian, Lombard, Piedmontese, Ligurian, and Emilio-Romagnol. In the south, you have the Italo-Dalmatian languages, which include Tuscan, Central Italian, Neapolitan, and Sicilian. Within language groups, speakers of two different languages can generally understand each other, but a speaker of Neapolitan and a speaker of Lombard, for example, will probably have a much harder time understanding each other. So where does this Italian language we all know today come in? Standard Italian is a language based on the Tuscan language, more specifically the dialect of Tuscan spoken in Florence. Why so specific, you may ask? Well, in the 14th century, this guy wrote this book in Florentine Tuscan, and the book became hella popular across all of the Italian peninsula. This meant that even though all these languages were already developing, many people had at least some exposure to Tuscan. So when Italian unification came along, many people thought it was a good idea to base Standard Italian on Tuscan. Today, pretty much everyone in Italy speaks Standard Italian, and the regional languages are sadly fading away. Now, I've spoken about languages that are falsely considered to be dialects of the same language. Now let's talk about the opposite, dialects that are falsely considered to be separate languages. Let's start with Serbo-Croatian. This is going to get me in a lot of trouble. Now, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a fascinating country. Not only does it have one of the strangest political structures in the entire world, but it also has 3 official languages: Bosnian, Serbian, and Croatian. However, the country technically only speaks one language, because all 3 of these languages, including Montenegrin, which is spoken in Montenegro, are nearly identical to each other. They're dialects of the same language, which linguists call Serbo-Croatian. But if you meet a Serb, a Croat, a Bosniak, or a Montenegrin, they will make sure you know which one of the 4 dialects they are speaking, and they will swear up and down that they are distinct, different languages and not dialects. The reason they are considered to be 4 distinct languages by so many is due to the 4 different national identities that have historically been very hostile to each other. Ever since the Yugoslav wars of the 90s, tensions between Serbs, Croats, Bosnians, and Montenegrins have been extremely high. As a result, these 4 nationalities have fabricated the myth that their respective dialects of Serbo-Croatian are all separate languages in an attempt to, well, sever cultural ties with each other. So, is there any justification to this claim? Well, there are minor differences in vocabulary and pronunciation, even though that is to be expected in dialectal variation of any language. The main difference is in the written form. Serbian and Croatian are written in the Cyrillic script, while Bosnian and Croatian are instead written in the Latin script. Besides that, Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, and Montenegrin are in every sense the same language. Another example of a language torn apart by political conflict is Hindustani. Just like Serbo-Croatian, Hindustani is a pluricentric language with more than one standard form. The two versions of Hindustani are Hindi, one of the official languages of India, and Urdu, one of the official languages of Pakistan. Hindustani developed from the early Indo-European language of Sanskrit, and it had accumulated a lot of influence from Arabic and Persian over the years. Some Muslim communities in South Asia began writing Hindustani in the Arabic script, and when the Arabic script was made the official script under the British, that created resentment among Hindu communities who thought it should be written in the Devanagari script. This caused two main dialects to emerge from Hindustani, and Hindi became the variety written in the Devanagari script, and Urdu became the variety written in the Arabic script. Hindi expanded Sanskrit vocabulary and dropped most of the Persian and Arabic influence, while Urdu did the opposite by expanding Persian and Arabic vocabulary and dropping Sanskrit vocabulary. Now, you may be thinking that this caused Hindustani to diverge into two languages completely, but most of the big differences between Hindi and Urdu are solely found in the standard languages, which are still connected through a dialect continuum. A speaker of Hindi and a speaker of Urdu will generally have no trouble communicating with each other, as they will probably adjust their speech away from the standard languages and meet in the middle of the dialect continuum, making themselves easier to understand. Besides being written in different scripts and having different standard versions, the everyday vernacular speech of both Hindi and Urdu is still one language, Hindustani. But all of this begs the question, at what points do two dialects of the same language become different enough to be considered distinct languages? Speakers of Arabic, for example, all speak the same language, allegedly, yet a Darija Arabic speaker and a Gulf Arabic speaker usually have a lot of trouble communicating. On the other hand, a speaker of Norwegian and a speaker of Swedish usually have no trouble communicating and understanding each other, even though they technically speak different languages. So, where do we draw the line?